All right, so this is going to be another Bitcoin video. We've had some developments today. We took out the high again. We wicked the high with an SFP, ran into a very key resistance, and we do have some bearish signs here. So I'll be taking a look at Bitcoin, starting on the higher time frames and working my way down, taking a look at Market Cipher and some developments in terms of price action. And then I may get into how I'm potentially looking to play this on the lower time frames. So starting off on the weekly, we'll just start from the top down here. The weekly time frame, objectively, just looking at the weekly alone looks bullish. We are just printing another green dot on this momentum wave. If we zoom in on this VWAP, we can see that, right now it's not looking terrible. We don't really have that great inward curve. We really just have it started off flattening out and then we have one angle to go off of. We just shot right up to the zero line. So, not super convincing VWAP, but the money flow is now putting in a higher high. And, other than the fact that the momentum wave is very extended to the upside, and I think it makes sense for it to eventually get a retracement as well as price, I can't say this looks very bearish, just looking at the weekly. But then we go down to the daily time frame, and here's where we do start to see some bearish signs as we are running into resistance. We have some bearish divergences. At least, it appears that way. Momentum has put in a lower high. Even though it's not a confirmed lower high yet, this momentum wave still has to top out. We don't know where that's going to happen. It could theoretically make its way all the way up here and void that divergence, but right now, momentum is lower than where it was at back here. So is money flow, and price has put in a higher high into a key resistance level. Now looking at the 4-hour, what we see is that we actually have gotten some local bearish divergences on this most recent high with momentum and money flow. So this is an extra strong divergence. I typically don't put a lot of weight on a divergence with just momentum, but when it's with momentum and money flow, that is a little extra spicy. That makes me trust the divergence a bit more. And that is what we got as we have wicked the high again and so far gotten a pretty solid rejection away from the golden pocket. So definitely seeing some local bearish signs on the 4-hour. And we can click through the lower time frames. The 3-hour looks very similar. I believe we also got bear divs with momentum and money flow. If my computer will load though, it's being very slow at the moment. But yeah, right now we do see that. It's not looking as clear in terms of money flow on the 3-hour. We could maybe see this be voided if money flow gets another move to the upside, but we still do see momentum ultimately coming down. We kind of put in 2 lower highs compared to this wave, and all of those were divergences. And the only thing that's looking a little bit more bullish maybe on the 3-hour is the money flow, but it is still technically right now at a lower low, so it's diverging at the moment. 2-hour, very similar thing, except the money flow looks more bearish on the 2-hour. We're still seeing momentum come down significantly here. So these time frames look pretty similar. We're seeing divergences, really stemming from back here in terms of momentum, and on the 1-hour, even with money flow, we see money flow ultimately decreasing from that point. And yeah, clear money flow div here on the 1-hour. The money flow on the 1-hour is actually in the red as we put in that high. Potentially, we are also seeing the money flow, maybe bottom out here. It's starting to get a bit of a curve to the upside. Maybe this could give some hope for, us to get another move to the upside, maybe to try and void some of these bear divs, but ultimately, we're seeing bear divs on all time frames really from the daily down, and money flow on most of the higher time frames is coming out at the moment. But, there is the potential that this 1-hour money flow wants to start curving back to the upside. I tend to trust the, majority, though, which is kind of saying that money flow is coming out, and we got pretty bearish signs at this high. And we can even go to some lower time frames, see if any of them are maybe looking a little bullish, maybe giving some weight to that 1-hour. And 30-minute actually looks pretty good. We saw money flow get a deep move into the red. It is now, it's crossed the zero line and is putting in higher highs in the green. So, this kind of backs up the 1-hour that, hey, maybe this money flow actually does want to turn around. And, maybe price actually wants to try and put in another higher high. 15-minute time frame money flow also putting in a higher high. So, there's a bit of uncertainty when it comes to some of the lower time frames. It looks like, maybe people want to try and push this back up. But now let's talk about some of the, just general price action developments. So higher time frame market structure is still definitely bullish. We haven't had any like high time frame market structure development that would say that things are in a bearish environment right now. We did kind of have a 4-hour bearish break here, but we eventually voided that by putting in a higher high anyway. And then we just kind of continued the uptrend. And recently we have had potentially a bit of a hint that, hey, maybe this higher time frame market structure is starting to look a little bit more bearish with this wick of the last higher high. So right now we have just SFP'd this significant point, and we have closed a 4-hour candle. And that is a bit of a hint towards bearishness, but I'd say that I wouldn't really be getting like super macro bearish until we start losing this low, because right now this is the higher low. We have put in a higher low and now a higher high. And, we have now also pushed the higher low up significantly. Before today, the higher low was all the way down here. So, we have, number one, SFP'd the market structure point and also made a higher low that is much easier to break. It's much closer to current price. So I'm not going to go too in-depth with my reasoning for a lot of my local plans. I've explained why I can't do that many times on my channel. It's because I'm using concepts that are behind a paywall. And if you want to learn these concepts, check out Jason Casper's VIP Discord and check out White Phoenix. That's all I'll say. But right now, just based on a lot of the higher time frame bearish signals, including the SFP with the bearish divergences, I am looking for short trades. And one of my plans right now is looking for a short from the high end of this local range. And there are some other confluences to go along with that, but I'm not going to be explaining all of those. So essentially what I'm looking at here is I'm looking for some kind of a retracement to the upside to hopefully get in on a lower high. And, an area that we can look is maybe between the golden pocket 786. That's usually a good retracement target to look for. That also kind of lines up with these wicks of the high. So there's been lots of selling in this area before. You could also look at this zone that we're approaching right now, the value area high with the VWAP. I typically don't like to just trade the value area levels specifically, but if it lines up with the VWAP, I mean, that's some extra confluence. This could work. But, in general, I like to look for shorts around the value area high and longs around the value area low. And basically, I'm just going to be looking at lower time frames and looking for confirmations to enter, lower time frame shorts. I'm not going to be entering a short where I have to cover that high as my stop loss. I'm going to wait for something, convincing to show up on the lower time frames, and that will give me a much tighter stop loss, a much better risk reward, and will allow me to lock in my trade sooner. That's usually how I trade. Not often do I, cover stop losses that big, unless it's like a swing position that I'm looking to hold for weeks. But I just don't have the evidence right now to say that, this is definitely the high. We haven't had like macro developments that would make me say that quite yet. It could be the high. We don't know. But yeah, for right now, I am looking for, lower time frame confirmations. And honestly, the lower time frame money flow is a bit concerning for this idea because it is putting in higher highs. Even though we do have some bearish signs on the higher time frames, there's a chance that we kind of avoid those and just go up for the high again and maybe reach for some higher targets. So I want to make sure that I have a clear reasoning for any short that I take. I have like a general bias based on my higher time frame analysis, but if the lower time frame setup doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to take the trade. And also, just because I kind of have a bearish bias based on the higher time frames doesn't mean I'm not going to look for longs. If I see a good long setup, I will also take that as well. One idea that's just kind of popping into my head now is we have some lows that are front running the value area low. Potentially we come down and SFP that. And, if we see confirmations on that, then I may look for a range trade and just look to trade it up to the high end of the range. Probably target the point of control, the value area high. And if price is actually meant to put in a higher high and continue up, then okay, cool, I'm in a long trade. So that's basically how I'm looking to play this. I'm just looking at the local range and doing what I always do, which is range trading, but also keeping my higher time frame, biases and my higher time frame analysis in mind, because one of these range trades could play into a higher time frame idea. Things have been very wicky. I would not be surprised if we get another wick of the high. Really any kind of wick right now would not surprise me. We could see a massive wick to the downside with a big buyback and maybe then continue up. Things have been very stop loss hunty. So one thing I'm not going to do here is be irresponsible and take some kind of trade that doesn't make sense in terms of local targets and that, could easily get stopped out with one of these crazy wicks. So, yep, that's pretty much how I am looking to play this price action. That's my analysis. I think we have some bearish signs here. Maybe we continue putting in higher highs with more bearish signs. That's kind of the environment that we're in right now. We just keep on getting bearish divs, and we're still putting in higher highs. But the difference is we have now run into a pretty key resistance zone. We also have hit the value area high of this bull market range, depending on the pull. I think Bybit's value area high is actually a bit higher. We can also check a few different pulls, maybe extend this back a little bit, see if that changes it at all. And that actually does change it slightly. I think we may have just front ran that value area high. Yeah, we just front ran that. And if you extend this all the way over, I know that moves the value area high up significantly. So, you could watch these other value area high pulls. And yeah, I guess it's very different on Binance. And I should have restarted my computer before doing this because it is acting very slow right now. But we'll take a look at the Bybit pull as well. This value area high is still way up there. That's at like 52K. So, there is definitely still resistance above us. I'm not saying that the top is definitely in here. But hey, another thing, we are again wicking this pull's point of control. And, this is just in general a high volume area. It doesn't matter on the pull. You can pull it back to here and you can still see a high volume node here. So we're running into resistance with bearish signs, but there is more resistance above us. And with Bitcoin, the trend right now is up. So, until there is clear signs that that is no longer the case, then we have to consider that we may just keep putting in higher highs here. But ultimately, in terms of local price action, I think that, based on the things we're seeing at these highs, these massive selling wicks with the divergences and, some other confirmations, some other bearish confirmations to go along with that, I think, right now I am prioritizing shorts. All right, that's all I want to go over today. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment. All that helps to support my channel. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you all in the next video.